So I'm making a video game and I've had to take a break for the past couple weeks just to try and handle some life responsibilities. And one problem you would encounter when taking some time off your project, you don't even need to take time off your project. A problem you just encounter when making video games is you would forget what you write, or rather, you forget your code base. Or to put it in simpler terms, you will forget your code. It is bound to happen. You cannot escape that. A good example, or rather something a good example of that issue right now in my project is I'm trying to implement some new enemies, and the current enemy I'm trying to make is, I'm calling it a suicide shroom. Essentially, all it does is it chases the player, and then when it gets to the player, it's supposed to explode and release some spores into the air, and it damages the player over time as long as they stand in it. Basic standard stuff for I guess an action game. And this involves using particles. I think it's better I just show you what it looks like. So let's hop into the game. So I have a test enemy here. He's gonna chase me, and then when he gets to me, he'll release the spores, and as you can see, it starts to damage me. Now he's not done. I still got a lot more work to do on him, but there's a bug right now. Even when the spores are done, I know how to fix that, but I haven't done that yet. So yeah, essentially I needed that particle system, and I was designing the architecture, that I was putting together a design for it, and in the process I realized that, wait, I've already done this a few months ago. I already implemented a particle system to manage my particles and just to make the code reusable. I completely forgotten I had done this, and I was just like, wow, how could I forget something so important? So that's just an example. Another example I could talk about is I made this bounty system for the game, and I completely forgot I did that. Completely. For example, let's see. Where is it? Oh, I think I have to go to the shopkeeper first. Yes. So I created this whole bounty system, and I just completely forgot I've done that. It works. It's functional, but it slipped my mind I've done that. So you forget what you did, you forget your code, you forget how it works, and that's bound to happen. So this video is it's not just gonna be me talking about how I forgot stuff I made in my code. I'm gonna touch on how you can manage this phenomena, because it's going to happen. You're going to forget your code, you're going to forget what you made. So I'm just going to talk and give a few tips and tricks on how you can avoid, or rather how you can deal with this problem. So that's enough yapping. Let's get straight to the first one. So one of the first things you got to learn how to do, and I know the internet has kind of bastardized this phrase, and I'm pretty sure people are sick of hearing it, but learn to code. Yeah, I know, but that's one of the best things you can do if you're hoping to get into video game development. And I know with the advancements of AI, there are a lot of products being pushed, and they're telling you, oh, you don't need to know how to do it. And trust me, you would do yourself a huge favor by actually knowing what you're doing. The AI will not be able to, it would lack taste and just flexibility, because you don't know what you're doing. And with video games that are very complex, and as I talked about, there's so many files and so many things you have to keep track of, at some point your video game will start to break, and because you didn't put in the effort to learn how to do it, or you didn't do it yourself, you're just gonna be lost, and you're gonna trash the project because you can't fix it. So learn to code. I really hate saying that, but that's the easiest way to get that point across. So learn to code properly, and you should be fine. Now, how you do that, that's kind of up to you. There's so many ways to do it. There's so many resources. Just find how I got into it is, well, I have a computer science degree, so I was already fairly comfortable with programming. So I just picked up Unity. I started with Unity at first, actually. And I gave myself a challenge. I told myself, okay, learn how it works and try and build a simple game in a month. And if you're able to do that, then you should try and focus on making an actual commercial game. So I hit my goal. I made the game in a month. You can play the prototype. Project Marble is somewhere on my itch page, so you can play the prototype. It's on itch right now, so anyone can play it. And once I managed to complete that goal, I decided I'll focus on this game I'm working on right now. So that's how I did it. You don't have to follow this path. You're gonna have to make one for yourself. So all that to say, just learn how to write, just learn how to use your engine, learn how to code. Like I said, I hate saying that. I hate that term, but you learn how to code, and that's like the first thing you gotta know, because when you do that, you are able to fix your problems and know where things are in your code and all of that. So step one, learn to code. The second thing you should do is use comments religiously, because you're gonna have to come back and read what you've written like 5 months ago. Who you were 5 months ago will not be the same person you are at that moment. You would have no idea what you were thinking. You would look at some things and you're like, what was I thinking? What? This makes no sense. And that might have to involve you having to refactor your code. So there is a huge incentive in, like, if you take a look at my code, for example, there are so many comments. I would write everything down just so I can when I come back to read it, I know exactly what I can figure out what I was trying to do, or what my mind was at when I was making the software. So let's see, there's a good example of how granular I like my comments. Give me 1 second. Where is it? I think, was it this? Yes. So if you take a look at this comment, I put a note for myself. Do not create XY. Do not create a pool for spores particle effect. It has about 150 particles in it, and creating a pool of those will tank the performance. Use the single instance function to get those. So upon seeing that, future me is not gonna make the same mistake. And I have the moment I find out like a piece of code that is gonna mess up the functionality, I put a note in the code and I'm like, okay, don't do this. This would mess things up. So yeah, use comments religiously. It's crazy, but like, it's funny how professional code has I won't say professional code, production code, like the code base for like applications that are being used by actual people. You'll be surprised at the very little amount of comments they have, and you're like, why are there no comments here? But yeah, you gotta make sure to comment religiously so you can save your future self the trouble of having to struggle to understand what you were trying to do. So yeah, use comments religiously. Now, the next two things I'm going to talk about are more personal things for me. So the one thing I do is I ensure it works before I move on. I'm not gonna say I'll fix it later, because you're not gonna fix it later. So fix it now before moving on. Just it doesn't have to work well, it just has to work. Just make sure it works. Like, don't leave unfinished features, because like I said in the previous point, future you is not the same as past you. So there will be a huge disconnect if you decide to come back to fix it. And so you can shelve, like, extending a feature, but just make sure it like is functional. Whatever you've implemented, just make sure it works. And if you say, oh, the rest of it, I'm gonna come back and finish it, sure. But leaving features unfinished or faulty is very, 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 very bad. Like, it's your like code base could just spiral into a whole mess if you're not careful. So make sure your features work before you move on. One final thing I will touch on, and again, this is a personal thing I like to do, is naming. Like, and when you learn to code, they'll tell you, you can name your stuff anything, but it is important that you make the names. They would also, like, when you're learning to like code, they'll teach you this, but a lot of people don't particularly follow it religiously. I do. Just make sure you try and have names that are easy to read. So for example, you can see a few functions I've written in here. I have one called check collision. Without even looking into the function, I can just tell that, oh, this function probably checks for a collision, or the function beneath it says has seen ground. I can just tell that, okay, this function is probably gonna let me know if this is for a raycast, actually. This is for a raycast 2D. So this is gonna tell me if this raycast has seen what it's colliding with, which is the ground. Get target. I know this function is going to return the target that the raycast is looking for. So just having names that at a glance you can just tell what it does would make debugging especially, it would make debugging a lot easier, because you can just tell, okay, this is what this is doing. And if you're not sure, you can always go in and when you've confirmed everything's good, it makes just cleaning up your project and just maintaining it a lot easier. So this video is already long, so I'm just gonna cut it short here. So those are 4 simple things you can just keep in mind when you're developing, just to help you like stay on track and prevent you from trashing your project. I've been making this since September last year. So it's been a while. I've been working on this project, and I haven't encountered any serious problems yet. I can still keep going. I can still keep developing. There are no roadblocks so far. Things are progressing smoothly, just because I'm following these 4 let's call them principles. Just because I'm following these 4 principles, things are going smoothly. So yeah, if you follow these principles, your chances of success increase. I wouldn't say exponentially, because who am I to say that? But yeah, your chances of success will definitely, or your chances of enjoying the project will definitely increase. So yeah, that's enough yapping. Thanks for tuning in to this episode, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.